Yeah. What you want? Yeah. We on Broadway, where the fuck they at? In the hallways, you was ditching class and getting cash. And this pussy nigga mad, we put his ass in a rap.
1800 Trap Star Alliance, aka 1800 Money Power Respect, was a gang formed in West East Brickton in the Shadford villages. The gang was created by Quan Fields, also known as Q5, Colin Carter, also known as C-Dot, and his cousin, Brandon Carter. 1800 began as a small friend group that pushed drugs around Shadford villages. As Quan and Brandon became more known in the hood, they started to recruit more people to their roster. As they grew, they decided to create a gang of their own, and thus 1800 NPR was born. 1800 was growing constantly and adding new members to their gang such as K-Dot, Dante Cook, D'Angelo Cook, Antonio Rivera, and Carter Kingston. With the gang growing, 1800 decided to expand its territories so they could move more product. 1800 NPR divided into 3 sets. The Ville, which was the original gang set, and the most powerful, ran by Quan Fields, Colin Carter, and K-Dot. The territory remained in Shadford villages. Six Side, aka GS6, was stationed in Grove Street, ran by Carter and Antonio Rivera. Finally, their set, YZN, the smallest, ran by D'Angelo Cook, and had a turf in Goodyear. 1800 NPR was renamed to the 1800 Trap Star Alliance to represent the 3 sets and alliance that formed 1800. Even though 1800 was a growing gang, they decided to focus on trapping and avoid beef with any other gang. 1800 was thriving. They were becoming known in the city of East Brickton, and business was booming. However, the peace did not last for long. The leader of Six Side, Brandon Carter, was robbed on his own turf on Grove Street. The robber was none other than Dirk Banks, the leader of the most powerful gang in East Brickton, Broadway OGs. And this run robbery started a notorious war within East Brickton. 1800 was now beefing with Broadway OGs. Brandon Carter sprinted back to Shadford villages to tell the others what had happened. Quan and the others decided to beef with Broadway OGs and planned their get back. However, this would not be an easy job, since Broadway OGs was very powerful. They had connections to the cartel and mafia and several turfs around the city. However, this did not stop 1800 from war. A few days later, Q5, Colin Carter, and Brandon Carter had planned a robbery on Zach Terry, who was the leader of the OGs. The robbery was successful, and the crew went back to the hood with a win. However, things would change very soon. The OGs were quick. The next day, Dirk Banks, Zach Terry, and his brother, Noah Terry, spun on Grove Street and killed Brandon Carter in the process. 1800 was devastated, losing one of their most valuable members. Jordan Perez, the cousin of Brandon Carter, took leadership of Grove Street. 1800 knew they couldn't take on Broadway OGs alone, so 1800 decided to create an alliance with a gang called 800 GFS. 800 was a very powerful gang in East Brickton who had access to exotic guns and drugs and turf around the city. The stronghold was the East Homes. 1800 also had an alliance with Ruger World, which was a smaller gang that resided near Janice and Goodyear. Allied together, 1800 and 800 and Ruger World were unstoppable. 800 leaders were Adam Wade, Jill Wade, who had strong connections to suppliers like Sean Banks, aka Duke Money. Sean Banks had a gang on his own, AMR, which started to become a subset of 800, then its own gang. These connections were shared with 1800, making the gang stronger than ever. 1800 being smaller than 800 was very close to 800 and started to become like a subset of 800 rather than its own gang as well. However, this would not last forever. Ruger World backstabbed 1800 and 800. They allied with Broadway OGs and started a beef with 1800 and 800, making the OGs stronger. 1800 and 800 would also become more different. They were still allied, but 1800 felt like its own game, rather than a subset again. However, 1800 was still thriving. 1800 still had AKs and Tex and Max. K-Dot became the owner of a record label, and Quan Fields and D'Angelo Cook made their famous diss against OG's Wag Jump. 1800 won the war against Ruger World, and Ruger World soon disbanded. Several attempts to kill Dirt Banks, and they have all failed because Dirt Banks always had people around him. However, one night, Quan Fields and Jordan Paris and Colin Carter spun out Dirt Banks. Zach and Notorious were furious. They planned a huge attack on Shafford villages against 1800, which ended horribly. The OGs came in with exotic guns, shooting up the neighborhood. 1800 fought back, but there were too many OGs to handle. 1800 eventually got pushed off the block and had to retreat, but they did manage to kill Zach Terry. After the attack, 1800 was still the king. No leaders or high rankings died. However, 1800 was not the same. 1800 was heavily weakened and started to become inactive. Many 1800 members began to move to 800, and slowly 1800 began to die, like bleeding out to a balloon. And that was the end of 1800. After the fall of 1800, K-Dot's record label was ended. Quan Fields was arrested, and Jordan Perez died to a gunshot wound, and D'Angelo Cook disappeared. 800 died off as well. However, they had a longer lifespan. Broadway OGs would also die off, with several members going missing or dead. That's the end of the video. Please let me know if you liked this is kind of like a different type of video. It's like a documentary type of video. Let me know if you guys like those type of videos, and I'll start making more. And subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.